In this video, we'll be looking at how to fully utilize your ClassPad calculator when it comes to your exam. All of these skills that I'm about to show you now have been taught within class within semester 1, but it's good to have this video handy just as a bit of a refresher. When you click on menu, you'll be shown the main menu screen. Remember, our main is where most of our calculations gets completed. We'll be also using the graph and table function and also the statistics function. When going into main, if you have calculations already on your calculator, you want to ensure that this is all cleared. Click on edit, clear all, and press OK. You also want to make sure that all the variables are gone as well. Variables just mean that if you have x equals to a certain number or y being equal to a certain number or any variable letter that you've used, you want to make sure that the calculator deletes this from its memory. Clicking on edit, clear all variables, and pressing OK will do the job. Now, say you're in a position where you have a certain answer. 5 take away 2.5. In this format, we have the answer as 2.5, which is in decimal format. Clicking on this button either here, or this button over here, will change this. So for instance, if I press this, and press enter, it will show it in decimal format. If I want to show it in standard format, and press enter, this will show this as an improper fraction, which is 5/2. Unfortunately, the ClassPad calculator cannot show this as a mixed numeral. This is where you can use your scientific calculator, or know the ability to change 5/2 into a mixed numeral. The first type of question that we're looking at is solving for x. In this example, we have 3x plus 19 is equal to 22. What you will do is click on the keyboard button, and in there is this button in Math 1 called Solve. Once clicking that, it will introduce an open bracket, and this is where you put in your 3x plus 19 is equal to 22. We also want to make sure that we use the comma and what variable we're solving for, in this case, x. Close bracket, execute that, and our x value is equal to 1. The next example, we'll be looking at a question where you have to solve for both x and y. This is simultaneous equations. In this example, we have negative 2x plus 3y is equal to 16, and 3x minus 4y is equal to negative 24. In order to solve for this, we won't be using the solve function, because solve is generally used when we only have one variable. Because we have two variables, and this can only work for two variables, we'll be pressing this button here, which can also be found in Math 1. When pressing this, you will have 3 rectangles introduced to you. The first rectangle, where the cursor is up the top, will be where we'll be putting our first equation. Negative 2x plus 3y is equal to 16. Remember, you'll be using your x's and your y's within here. Once you've done this, do not press execute as of yet. Just use your cursor to go down and put in your second equation. 3x minus 4y is equal to negative 24. Then use your cursor to go across to the last square. This square, we want to tell the calculator what variables we're solving for. In this case, we want to solve for x, and we also want to solve for y. We want to make sure we use a comma to separate the x and the y. Pressing execute will show us that x is equal to negative 8 and y is equal to 0. We'll now have a question that looks like this. Graph the following. Y is equal to 4x plus 3. The reason why you will use your calculator in order to tackle a question like this is just to validate that the way that you have answered this question within your exam looks correct. From our main menu, from our main section rather, we're going to click on this button here, which takes us back to the menu, and we're going to click on graph and table. If you already have graphs here, just go edit, clear all, okay. We only have one graph to deal with, so within our y1 area, we're going to put in 4x plus 3. And then press execute. You know that the calculator will execute this because one of two things happens. The first one, the multiplication sign turns into a dot. Generally, you would just put 4x plus 3, so a little dot will go in between the 4 and the x. If you use the times button, the times will turn into a dot. The second thing is that the tick will show up within the first equation or any equation that you are using. So this will indicate to the calculator that it's ready to graph. So before we graph, we'll click this button here to graph. Sometimes you want to make sure that the domain is within a nice area. So domain meaning your x's and the y's. I generally just set mine to -10 to 10. Press OK. But we'll also be using the quick standard view for this. We're going to click on this button here, and this is going to graph 4x plus 3. Now, in some cases, your graph might not show up because the graph has been shown in a different area. So what we're going to do for this is we're going to click on Zoom, Quick, and Quick Standard. And this will show the graph in the most effective way that the calculator thinks. Here we can see that it is going up from left to right, so we have a positive gradient, and that's expected because the number in front of the x is a positive number. Now, to give you the ease of mind, we want to make sure that where it's intersecting within the y-intercept, we want to make sure that this is correct. The button here on the top right, when pressed, will have a pink cursor that will blink. Generally speaking, the pink cursor will automatically go onto where the y-intercept is. In other words, when the x-coordinate is 0, our y-coordinate will be 3. If for whatever reason your cursor is not there, or you've accidentally moved the cursor and it's hard to put it back onto the intercept, we'll just use the button Analysis up the top, G-solve, and y-intercept. And the cursor will go straight back to the y-intercept. Next, we have a question that says find the intersection of the following graphs. We have y equals 4x plus 3 and y equals 2x minus 1. What we're doing is we're going to look for where these two graphs meet, also known as the intersection. Coincidentally, this is solving for simultaneous equations as well. This is just another way in order to solve for these simultaneous equations. If you want to use this method, you're more than welcome to. The only thing is you have to make sure that both of the equations is in the format of y equals. If it isn't, you'll either change this or you'll just simply use the solve function which I showed you at the start. So right now, we've already got 4x plus 3 and we can see that this is one of the equations already being used. So we're going to go back into the screen here and we're going to put in the second equation, which is 2x minus 1. Execute this, and again the tick will come up and the little dot will go in between the 2 and the x. Now right now, as soon as you put in the second equation, the calculator will not know that that equation is going to show on the graph. It knows that it's there, but we need to show this on the graph. So we want to click on that button at the top there to graph this. In this case, both of these will graph. Now what we want to do is look for the intersection. We're clicking on this. This will show where the y-intercept for the first graph is, but we're not looking for that. We're looking for what this point is here. So we're going to go into Analysis, G-solve, and Intersection. This wasn't highlighted before because we only had one graph. In this case, we can find this because we have two graphs. The cursor will show where the intersection is, and the point is -2 and -5. These points are too tricky to read because it shows it a bit squished. One of two things you can do. The easiest thing is to look at the x-coordinate, which is -2, and the y-coordinate, which is -5. The other thing you can do is making sure that the blue rectangle is around the graph screen. You're going to click on the resize button, and that should hopefully change it. In some cases, the intersection might be somewhere there, so it will show the intersection coordinate points there. Fortunately, it shows it on the y-intercept, so it's a bit tricky to read. So I will just read -2 and -5 here. The last type of question we'll be looking into is finding the equation from 2 points. In this case, the 2 points are 6 and -5 for x1, y1, and 9, -14 for x2 and y2 respectively. We're going to click on the menu to get out of this graphs and tables, and we're now going to use the statistics option. If you have numbers already in your list 1 or list 2 or any of these lists, you're going to edit, clear all, and press OK. The way we put these numbers in is very important in making sure that we get the correct gradient and the correct y-intersection. So how this reads is my first point is 6 and -5. So in list 1, I'm going to press 6, I'm going to execute this, and the second coordinate doesn't go to -5, it actually goes to the next x coordinate from the second point. In this case, it's 9. So think of x1 being all the x coordinates and list 2 being all the y coordinates. So -5 and -14 accordingly. So now that we've got these 2 points, what we're going to do is we're going to get the calculator to find the gradient, as I was saying before, and the y-intercept. How we go about this is up the top, we're going to press the calc button, regression, and the option called linear regression. It's going to come up with a set calculation table, and we're just going to make sure that X list is for list 1 and the Y list is for list 2. By default, it will show it as this. Don't click on any of the other functions, and if it is a bit different to what you see on the screen, just make sure it's 1, off, and off. Press OK, and what will happen is you'll get your A and B value in the format of y is equal to ax plus b. Now sometimes, just be careful, it might show it in the format of y equals a plus bx, and you'll see that the a and the b values will be swapped around. To get into a good habit, make sure it shows y equals ax plus b, the a value is equal to -3, and the b value is equal to 13. So the equation for this graph that intersects these 2 points is y is equal to -3x plus 13. This concludes this video. Hopefully you find this video to help you out for your exam. Best of luck, guys. See you guys soon.